Welcome into this week's edition of Inside, whatever we're calling it now. Whew, it's been a Monday. This week in UNC baseball with head coach Scott Forbes. I'm Tommy Ashley. We're sponsored by Johnny T-Shirt. Coach Forbes, a hell of a week last week for your team, including in a 14-inning Game 3 rubber match win. You were pretty hyped up after that game. How's it been in the aftermath of it, just sort of settling back into the routine here on another busy week for you?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to get too hyped up. You don't want your team to get too hyped up, but you also want to celebrate hard-fought games, especially a rubber match game. Whoever gets that game wins the series against a rival. So I was really excited for our guys because they've been fighting. They've been, we haven't played great in every aspect, probably. But that being said, we are 24-8 and managed to win games. But, I was excited for the guys that have been working their tails off, that made the most of those opportunities and got out of jams, especially on the mound. And, we just find a way to win with the team that I love being around. So I was excited for them. They got a day and really, moved on. Hopefully they've moved on, and we've got a really challenging week ahead of us.
Yeah, you travel to Elon on Tuesday night, tomorrow night for folks watching this on Monday. And then, of course, Wake Forest comes in. Why go to Elon? I'm just curious as to that one.
Coach Kennedy has come here forever. Rarely have we gone there. He's been asking, hey, if you can come here. Good guys, staff's good group, and it's 30 minutes. So, you do need some road games. It helps you in the RPI category. You obviously hope that whoever you play is having a good season. But even if they're not, you go on the road and you get a win. It is a road win. And it's always good to challenge your guys. I'd like to play every game midweek at home. But for us, we looked at this one like, okay, if we're going to go play at Elon and go play someone that we respect that has come here all these years, it's only 30 minutes. We can still have our pregame meal here. It's not too bad on our guys, their bodies, because it's a really short trip.
Yeah, and when you play these midweeks, Elon, of course, hadn't had a great season, but it's still all you need is one hot pitcher to change the game. But what do you hope to accomplish outside of the win? We've talked about never sacrifice a win, but when you see the pitching that you got this past weekend that hasn't played a lot, and then you've got other guys out there, what do you hope to accomplish in a game like this heading into a series like Wake Forest?
You want to just play well, number one, top to bottom. It's always harder on the road, doesn't matter who you play. And it neutralizes sometimes if a team maybe on paper is a lot better than the other team because you're away from what you're familiar with. So that's number one, like understanding, and this team understands that. We've already been on the road at ECU, at Louisville, at BC, neutral game against South Carolina. But you got to have toughness, number one. So you're looking to say, hey, we talk about this all the time. We talk about that it's harder on the road no matter who we're playing. And then, you want to get those guys and keep creating that depth, but you want to also play well, top to bottom. Doesn't matter where it is. They're turf infield, so that's good. We're going to go play on that at Virginia Tech. So really, for me, the number one thing I want to accomplish is I want to play well top to bottom and continue to play better. But number two is good to go on the road and challenge the toughness category a little bit.
You mentioned depth there, and at this point in the season, 32 games into the season, what is the building depth process like? Obviously, Chewy and Cale Bolton threw for you on Saturday, and that's important. Sawyer Black's down for a little while. Perry Hargett sort of stepped up out there. But how do you continue to build depth at this point in the season? And is that a thing, getting guys that haven't had a chance yet to get a chance at this point, or are you pretty set in what you've got?
I mean, there's certain things that you might be pretty set in, but you can never have enough depth. And, getting guys to believe, too, at this point, you've played over half your season. They still you have to hope that they're listening to what you're saying, like, hey, you got to stay ready. if your opportunity comes. It's going to look like right now that your opportunity is way less because I haven't gotten one, right? But there are injuries. Injuries happen. Unexpected things happen. I don't think I know, one of the most common things about championship teams is no matter how much adversity they have, no matter how deep the hole, they find a way to power through it and overcome it. And there's different types of adversity, right? Like you could struggle, like we talked about offensively. You could have a freshman that's in there to kind of stabilize your order as a left-handed bat, have to have surgery and have his hamate removed, and it's going to be out a little bit like Sawyer Black. And you could be down 2 relievers that have pitched quite a bit for you, especially Matty Mathias, but also in Kyle Percival. So, and then you have a great story. It's like, hey, these guys, do you really think deep down that Kel Bolton thought he was going to pitch today? Especially in that type of situation. And the same thing with Chewy, but they prepared like they were going to. And the reason that they had success is because they were ready. They were ready for that opportunity. So to answer your question, I do feel pretty good about certain things. Guys that are, our infield is what our infield is. It's been pretty dang good for a couple hiccups here or there. We know what our catching situation is like, and we know he's playing center field and right field. And then Perry's, he played, most importantly for me was Perry's getting better defensively because he's a speed guy. And, freshman hitters are going to be up and down at times. But we have some other guys, that we're going to need to come off the bench potentially. We could have another injury. So it's just continuing to reiterate to them, it may look like you're not going to play, but if you have the wrong outlook, you're not going to be ready. If you have the right outlook like Chewy and Bolton, chances are much better. So that would be my answer to that. A long answer, though.
Speaking of depth, you go into extras in the 3rd game of a series, and you had already played on Tuesday. It was a short week. What's kind of going through your head with the idea of, hey, we might go to extra innings here? How do I structure this bullpen, especially because you've already used 2 of your best relievers?
Obviously you'd rather not go into extras when you're up 7-4, which we didn't really talk about that. But at the end of the day, we did. So much happened in that game. I went back and really broke it down myself. You should always go back as a coach and look like, is there anything we could have done better to prevent having to go into extras? But after that, just looking at how it unfolded, the pitches that we made, the plays that we made, and nobody talked about the double plays. Vandy made an unbelievable diving play to prevent a run. So we did more than just create depth on the mound. We made big plays in big moments. But for me, it was like, okay, we don't have a choice here. This is who we have to go to because these guys are not available. They've already been used. Maddie's not available. So the 3 relievers we've used the most all season up to this point have been Walker McDuffie, Lynch, and Mathias. And we're not even in extras yet, and we're going to somebody else. So knowing that if we do go to extras and the longer it goes, somebody else is going to get an opportunity. And they got it, and they ran with it for sure. I was really impressed with how calm they were when they came in, because I have a pretty good sense of different guys. When I walk back in, I'm like, ooh, man, I don't know if he's ready for this. But Seagraves, Chewy, Bolton, and then Folger. I was impressed with how Folger looked with the bases loaded, like, let's go. So that was so encouraging, and we're going to need that, not having Maddie. I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's going to be it'll be at least a week or 2. It could be the whole season.
When you say you go back through and you kind of analyze the game more, what is the biggest thing that stood out to you upon the rewatch that you really weren't either catching or necessarily was number one on your mind during the game?
I would say was just our guys, is the old word everybody uses, their grit and determination, because we were down too. We go up, we give up a 2-run home run to Gracia. They're right back in it. It's kind of like starting to unfold a little bit like game 2 did. But we hung around. We kept playing. Aiden made some big pitches. We got a big hit there, and all of a sudden we're ahead, and then we lengthen the lead. And then to watch us get punched in the mouth and in the in the ninth, I would say that the thing that stuck out the most is that watching it looks like our guys weren't phased. It looks like they're really believing in what we talk about from the coaching standpoint and the program standpoint of, hey, like you got to be right here, right now. You can't let the fact that we just blew that 3-run lead affect this inning right here, this pitch right now. You have to just keep playing. So I was proud of that, the way they carry themselves, their poise. That was, to me, the most impressive thing that will help them moving forward.
When you look at, and I don't want to dwell on the negative, but is it purely you just can't walk the leadoff hitter? I mean, when you're up, because it feels like when you're up 3, you can lose one way, and that's walks. And you gave up a couple there. I mean, that seems pretty correctable, but when you're reviewing the tape and you go back to it, is that what you're leaning on, or is there other things there?
You definitely emphasize getting the leadoff hitter on, but that doesn't guarantee it. Just watch the 9th inning of State and Virginia. Yeah, yesterday, Virginia gets the first 2 guys out. I mean, guys looking great to me, and then it's a base hit, a walk, a 3-1 bomb, and then you're just like, what just happened?
Well, that strike zone also.
Yes, it did. I agree. But what I would tell our team in that situation is you got to expect that on the road. Mm-hmm. Expect the strike zone to get tougher. We got to make a better pitch, so we're not going to, revert back to that. But yeah, I mean, we emphasize getting that leadoff hitter out. There's no doubt about it, and eliminating those free passes, and that's why Cam had so much success. That one ball was hit, and they had a base running blunder, which helped us. But he was filling it up, and the question for us was like, well, he's walked some guys recently. Is he going to walk guys? Because that's why we were in the mix. The situation we were in was because of walks. But I would say the biggest thing is the walks, not necessarily just the leadoff guy, but it's like, let's eliminate the free passes. We eliminate those free passes, good things happen. And then if we do walk the leadoff guy, or we make an error on the leadoff guy, or something negative happens, get the next guy out. Now, we do talk about that, Tommy, all the time. Get the first guy out that you faced. If you do that, your chances are much better of getting out of that inning.
You've been around a lot of pitchers. Why are the last 3 outs the hardest?
It's just different. You know it. You know what those last 3 outs are. Some guys just aren't last 3 out guys. That's why in the big leagues, they're setup men, and that's where they remain their entire career. You could take a starter and put him in the bullpen, and he's just not made out for those last 3 outs. And you have a guy like Mariano Rivera that's what he thrives on. But you might have a guy that gets to him all those years that nobody talks about, that's unbelievable in the 7th and the 8th. But for some reason, in his mind and his heartbeat, those last 3 outs change. We've had that here. We had a guy here that ended up being one of our best setup guys, one of our best relief pitchers in Greg Holt, but he was much better in that role than the closer's role. And then we put Michael Moore in that role. So that's where the coaching, or can you learn to be better? Dalton Pence wasn't very good at it early, but he got better at it. But it's different. I mean, it's different for everybody. I mean, I'm walking in the dugout last year after we get out and we're up 2-1 against West Virginia, and I'm like, 3 outs, 1-run game. I didn't think 6 outs when I walked in. So it's just nature to know that those last 3 outs, that's why they call it a save in the closed situation, because they're the hardest outs to get. And it takes a special person to really want to. I think the biggest thing is the failure, being able to know, like, hey, that's part of it. That's part of me being the closer is I'm going to blow a save, but I'm not scared to blow the save.
Let me sneak in. Let me ask one more question, because this is something in baseball that maybe not people. Do you come in and say 3 more outs? Mm-hmm. Everybody knows there's 3 outs. It's kind of like the guy shooting free throws, like, we got to have these. Or is it just unsaid?
Yeah, it's unsaid. It's like no hitter. Don't talk about it. You work on it, and you do work on it mentally before the situation. But again, you're trying to get your pitchers and your players to be one pitch at a time. pitchers specifically, we work really hard at you're throwing this pitch to wherever. You don't even need to think about the count because you know what the pitch comm says. You know whether or not you shake. If it's a slider in the dirt, slider in the dirt. What does the count matter? Because you'll see a lot of pitchers in a 3-1 or 3-0 count take off of their fastball and aim it. And if they're 95, normally they're 90. Well, that ball doesn't come back. So if anything, I tell our guys in that 3-0 count, if you're 94, I want to see 95. I want you to reach back and throw it through the mitt because if you're playing us, we're going to have the green light. And, so learning to do those things. And it's very normal. It's a hard game. People talk about how hard hitting is. Well, pitching is just as hard. It's a small plate and your brain works. You got to convince your brain to just throw the pitch to the catcher and not change the way you throw the pitch.
What are some of those intangibles that you look for in a guy that can get the last 3 outs? Because it looked like Cam had all of them on Saturday, even though it wasn't actually the last 3 outs. How does he and Kale and Chewy and Folger kind of demonstrate those intangibles that you need from a guy to close a game?
Yeah, closers always seem to have that little bit of crazy edge to them. Mariano was the calm edge, I would call it, the best closer in my opinion of all time. But they just want to be in that situation. It's like they thrive on being in that situation. They don't need much of a routine. Give me the ball. Here I come. I'm coming right after you. And you just have to go with your gut as a coach, being around guys. And sometimes you have to live on the edge a little bit to really develop a true closer because those guys a lot of times might be a little wild, not crazy wild with their pitches, but like Andrew Kerrigan, was a little bit on the edge, but he wasn't scared. And the more he got out there, the better his control got. And you're right on Cam. He just has that look like, give me the ball. I'm coming at you. If I walk you, it's not because I'm trying to aim the ball. It's just because my command is I'm trying to throw the ball 110, and working with him on that, staying more under control. But it is fun as a coach to help guys, learn. It's just the mental part of sports. It's the same thing in basketball, wanting to be at the free throw line. The guy that went to the free throw line for Houston that made those 2 free throws was 62%. But I could see his routine, talking to himself. He was reassuring himself. And it's a real part of the game, So those intangibles really are probably who really does not fear failure the most at that point. Because your chances of failing, in a 1-run game on the road and everybody's pulling against you, you just got to be able to eliminate that noise and kind of want to be in that environment.
With Cam's outing specifically, the Duke was able to come back and score in his first inning on the mound. He got the double play, and then he came back for those 2 scoreless, 6 up, 6 down, 4 strikeouts. What was there a change that you saw in him to go from letting a guy?
Can y'all still hear me?
We can still hear you.
Okay. It just says my browser lost connection to the camera. I don't know what to do, but everybody's just going to have to listen to me because I am not technically savvy, but we can still hear me. I didn't do it, I promise. But anyway, sorry, that was a distraction. But you were asking about Cam.
Yeah, Cam. He went from his first frame being a little bit shakier. He got the double play ball, and then he just came out, it looked like, with his hair on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Was there just a change that you think happened in the dugout? Did anyone talk to him, or was that really just him getting into his routine and locking in for those final 2 innings?
I think Cam was the same when he came into that game. And like I told him, like they had to get that hit. You didn't give him anything. And then you got a double play. So you get that double play and you kept the game tied. If you come in with the bases loaded, nobody out, obviously your goal is to get out of it with 1 run. That's a big time win. But he got out of it without us losing the lead, and he took that momentum. And there was really nothing said to him. I thought he looked great and was commanding his pitches. And, I was honestly surprised. I was like, man, this team, they must really be able to hit a little bit, because I thought he was nasty from the second he came in. And they did a good job of hitting, and then he shut them down after that.
We're talking with head coach Scott Forbes. He's in the middle. He's really.
It says I would have to restart my entire browser, so we're not going to do that.
No, we're not going to do that because we don't want to keep you too terribly long. But it is kind of funny. But Scott, when you look at your offense, we talked about the offensive struggles, but they've stepped up. Specifically, Jackson Vanderbrake. Just sort of speak to that, why you moved him up there to the 2-hole, and also the effect that he and Kepley can have. Even Jackson's been hitting it, but Kepley has not been hitting it, but he still manages to get on base. Just why that move to keep Kepley at the top and to slide Jackson up there, at least against that Duke series or against those Duke pitchers.
Yeah, well, number one, we knew we were going to see a ton of lefties, and Jackson's career against lefties is extremely good. But we knew it was a matter of time with Jackson because he had been hitting the ball. He just hadn't got hits. And he was on the barrel, but he was flying out to right. Credit Coach Wiersbicki and him for working hard and getting back to a better mechanical spot like he was in 23. He's pulling the ball better, as you noticed. Less weak fly balls to right field. So hopefully he can keep that up. But we felt like he was a good matchup, and he also looked really good. And we really felt like over the last 10 games, especially him and Tyson Bass have been really good. So we wanted to kind of change the order and get them more bats potentially and have them up there in the more important times, which if you're going to do that, you're trying to hit them in the top 5. And then, really, and there's no reason to shy away from it, and these guys know it. Kane and Luke have struggled those last 10 games. But I believe in those last 10 games, we're 7-3 or 8-2. I don't know what we are, but we're pretty solid. And just remind those guys, like, hey, number one, you can't do it by yourself anyway. Number two, think how awesome it's going to be when these guys have shown we can still win with you having a really deep struggle. So just take a deep breath and don't be too over consumed by it. So I thought Jackson was the key to last week for us going 3-1, honestly. He hit around, I just pulled it up. He hit 467. He had 5 RBIs. He only struck out 2 times. His slogan was 800 and his on base was 500. So that was really promising to see. And then Bass wasn't far behind him at 412 with a slugging of 529 and an on base percentage of 500. And Bass, when he got on base, he scored. So the speed, so we get those other 2 guys, Kep and Luke going, and Luke didn't have Stoke didn't have a great week as well. So we get those older guys that have played a lot of baseball for us going. I think our offense can really get going.
We've talked a lot, Coach, about, I think just in general, you can have losses that kind of define the character of your team. And I think it's really how you bounce back from losses like that. And you can have wins that also, I think, define team identity and team character. You guys talked a ton last year about that 3rd Miami game and how that was really a defining moment in the season for the team and their identity. Mm-hmm. Do you think you have one of those thus far? And if so, could it maybe be this game? Because it was such a long one, and your team, despite the walks, they executed the little things well to just pull off a really gritty victory.
Yeah, I think this could be that game. It doesn't mean we're going to – our league is so difficult. I really believe you can play really well and lose 2. Not 2 games in a series, but just you can lose. In the game of baseball, like Elon's not having a great year, but they decide to throw the Friday starter and he's on, we'll be in a dogfight, right? And Wake Forest just gets swept by Virginia Tech at home. Then they go to Florida State and they 10-run rule them and beat the dog mess out of them Saturday and Sunday. So it's just kind of where we are. But I do think there are certain games that, guys are like, okay, like we know we can beat anybody, and we're able to win these games. I don't think you have to give our players, some credit from the standpoint they're not dumb. They know that they're down there in the locker room. They know how we played, and they know that okay, we went 7-3, but we went 7-3 and hit 250. Without Luke Stevenson or Kane Kepley doing much, but they played a good center field and caught really, really well. So they still helped us win. But like from the standpoint of that game, you lose it. Oh man, like sometimes you look back and like, man, those games you got to find a way to win, but when you do find a way to win them, they definitely help you build momentum. And that's my hope. Like, okay, because that was a game we lost game 2 and we take the lead. Luke hits that home run. We're up. We're feeling great. We got a great crowd, and we give it up, and then we're behind, and they've got all their relievers rested, and we get some big hits, and then we blow the lead. Looks like we're going to win it nice and clean in the ninth. The next thing you know, they got the bases loaded with 1 out again, and whatever it was, the 13th. And Stokely makes an unbelievable play. Boaz comes in. So those things for sure build you and hopefully give you more confidence.
Yeah, I got one last fun one for you, Coach. Who are you rooting for tonight in the national championship? Really important.
Oof. Oh, man. I am rooting for Houston. Yep. I mean, so I'm going to root for.
Got to root for the North Carolina guys and Kelvin.
I mean,
Sampson,
why wouldn't you?
there.
Yeah. I think. I mean, I'm all Houston.
And they did.
I'm wearing red, but I'm all Houston.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm wearing the red for you, Coach. It's okay.
Who were y'all rooting for in Duke and Houston?
Houston.
Who do you think? I wish I could see the look on your face, but let's just say there was some Lord's work done on Saturday night.
Oh, man. I know Ben Miller, heck of a player. He was like, man, this game keeps going. We're not going to be able to watch the basketball game.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, good gracious, what are we doing here? But it's always fun to talk to. We'll get the camera figured out. I'll send William over there to get the camera figured out at some point. But it's always fun, and we appreciate your time. I know you're busy, and it's always fun to talk Carolina baseball with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And to all the fans that do listen, big series. Wake's a really good team. Obviously, the weather might be a little bit of an issue, but the more people we can get here, it's just really appreciated. We notice, our players notice. I don't care how much you yell at me, as long as you come and just yell. I just love the fact that it's been packed, and for our players, because that makes it better for them and gives us a better chance to win for sure.
Yeah, pitching rotation this week.
Padgett at Elon. We're going to stay the same this week with order because of rest. We'll go Knapp, DeCaro, Houck. And then next week, we may end up staying the same the rest of the year, but next week we get an extra day back. But I'm confident in all 3 of those guys. DeCaro, get that boy going like he's capable of, and watch out.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a great day. Go
you too. Shout out to Johnny T-Shirt for being sponsor of this show. Always great friends of Inside Carolina. Always great friends of you, the Inside Carolina premium subscriber, which if you are not a premium subscriber, you got to get with the ball game. This baseball content's been free. The baseball board is free, but the Tar Pit Premium and the UNC Basketball Premium message boards are where it's at, especially during portal season across the board. Check out Inside Carolina's Premium. It gets you 10% off your Johnny T-shirt order. And they of course, have got Johnny T-shirt gear everywhere in the store and online at johnnytshirt.com. Get your basketball gear, your baseball gear, your jerseys. You like those Carolina jerseys? You can get some of that swag at Johnny T-shirt. Visit them. Tell them Inside Carolina sent you and get you 10% off. Stay tuned to Inside Carolina for more baseball coverage, for more coverage of everything Carolina athletics.